So far in the Biden administration, no one has been held accountable for the disastrous, hectic withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Chairman Mike Turner leads the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence.
President Biden had said at the time that we would not run for the exits in Afghanistan, and in fact, his administration did so in the middle of the night, resulting in the loss of lives and the oppressive Taliban regime quickly taking back Afghanistan. In Congress, as part of the National Defense Authorization Act, we established an Afghan War Commission to review this matter and to review really what were the issues of our failures in Afghanistan. How can we look to have lessons learned? How can we hold people accountable for what was a disastrous and deadly chaotic withdrawal?
In the 3 years since the withdrawal, in your assessment, how do you think the United States' absence has impacted the region and our adversaries around the globe?
Well, one way that it has impacted our adversaries is it's made them stronger. We know that the United States and our Western allies are more at risk today because there are terrorist groups and organizations that are based in Afghanistan that are plotting attacks against Americans. The Biden administration had promised America and the world that on leaving Afghanistan that they would, by so-called viewing it over the horizon, make certain that Afghanistan did not fall into the hands of terrorists. But yet, as we know today, there are those groups and organizations, so much so that the Biden administration has even had to go back in and take actions within Afghanistan. But it continues to pose the threat that it did before 9/11, which is why America was there to begin with, to prevent that from happening.
This weekend, Israel carried out further strikes in Lebanon against Hezbollah after Israel received intelligence about a planned Hezbollah strike. Has Israel efforts in Lebanon complicated those ceasefire talks, or should we just forget about the ceasefire at this point?
Well, first off, Israel has to defend itself, and the Iranian proxy groups of Hamas and Hezbollah, and even the Houthis in Yemen, pose a threat to Israel and really all Western allies. The fact that Israel sees the need to go in and to address a threat is all because of still the nefarious actions of Iran within the area. It's difficult within that environment of Iran continuing to target Israel and Israelis through their proxies for any meaningful ceasefire to evolve. The negotiations are ongoing, and Director Burns of the CIA has done an excellent job in continuing the negotiations to get hostages released and to march toward a ceasefire. But it remains still very precarious to try to accomplish with Iran behind the scenes, making sure that they're undermining Israel and Israel's security.
Another huge topic in the intelligence realm, reports about the Iranian plot to assassinate former President Trump. What can you share on the depth of the plot, and do you fear more assassination attempts?
Absolutely. It has been publicly stated by the administration outside of classified material that as a result of the death of the killing of General Soleimani, Iran had begun to target both Trump administration officials and Donald Trump himself. It is not classified. The administration has released that they have in custody a Pakistani national who was the first step that they were taking to implement a plan for a murder plot for hire to assassinate Donald Trump. What's incredibly troubling is the administration has taken no action against Iran as a result of that, made no real statements, declared no red lines. Almost every national security policy expert has said that if a foreign government, a foreign state assassinated a political candidate in another country, that would be an act of war. We're certainly attempting to do so is more than just a law enforcement issue. Arresting someone is not the last step that this administration should do. I think most people are continuing to wait for the administration to, on just an understanding of the value-based statements of what this threat is, to take action and to make strong statements to Iran.
There's also public reporting that Iran is meddling in the presidential campaign after multiple cyber attacks by the regime. What are your thoughts on that, and what can be done to stop this from happening?
Well, again, this is one where through being able to go in and triage and understand what has been happening in the hacking environment, that Iran has been identified as a culprit. Again, the administration is silent as this is ongoing, where you have Iran not only their nefarious actions in the Middle East against the United States, our allies and Western allies in Israel, but right here in the United States, is attempting to meddle in the election. And this administration remains silent, and again, is taking no action.
There was also the attempted assassination in Pennsylvania over the summer. Little is known about the motive of the attempted assassin. When do you think the American people can expect answers? Obviously, the House is digging into it.
Right. The House has an investigation. The investigation continues on the administration side. There is a lot to be learned. Although the FBI has initially said that he was the lone shooter, they have not said that he was the lone actor. There are a number of leads that need to be concluded to be able to determine who was he in touch with, who else was he communicating with, and to what factor did they play in his assassination attempt of Donald Trump.
Let's talk a little election year politics. You and everyone in the House is on the ballot this fall. We just saw the Democratic National Convention, where Vice President Harris was forceful in her attacks against former President Trump on abortion and foreign policy. What did you make of her performance, and what do you expect in the final stretch of this campaign?
What's so amazing about what occurred at the Democratic National Convention, it is completely thwarting the democratic process. No one has gone to any poll and voted for Kamala Harris to be the presidential candidate for the Democrats. Literally, a small group of people decided that she would be the candidate after Joe Biden stepped aside, and the Democratic Party was told that she will be the candidate. Mm-hmm. I would have expected some recognition that she had stepped in, that she is unlike any other candidate in my lifetime who has run for president with having not one ballot be casted for her to do so. But she had a tough job that night when she gave her speech for the Democratic National Convention, because when she took the stage, she had to make strong statements that were against the very policy choices that she had pursued. She made strong statements that she will be for security at the border when she has been the opposite. She has stated that she's going to be supportive of our men and women in uniform and our national security, when in fact it's been the opposite. Her statements on the border were so casually cast, as if the American public don't know that nearly 10 million people have walked across the border, aided by this administration. What we are going to see, if there is a Kamala policy objectives, is a complete contrast to what we know we're going to get with a Harris presidency. Not only will she be more of what Joe Biden has been in inflation, difficulties with the economy, weakened national security, open border, she will be even more so. Throughout her time as vice president, she's made it clear that she is to the left of Joe Biden, and Joe Biden's left policies are what's really causing struggle for America right now.
It's striking, considering that she was not a candidate during the primaries, that we haven't seen much of her besides highly scripted teleprompter campaign events. What about doing interviews? What about a free-flowing news conference to get answers for the American people?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no scrutiny whatsoever to what she's saying. I mean, even just being held accountable with the basic question of, well, what do you mean by that? She has no expression of her thought or her substantive views on what she's campaigning on to be president of the United States. I mean, this is unprecedented in any election. I mean, she's not running for governor. She's not running for mayor. She's running for president of the United States. And not one person has gone to a poll and chosen her to be the candidate.
Finally, I'm sure the Trump campaign's wondering when her campaign honeymoon will end. A critical point in this campaign will be when Harris and Trump debate on stage. Your thoughts on what the former president needs to do when he gets that moment with lots of people paying attention after Labor Day?
Well, I think he needs to let her talk. I mean, the more she talks, we know the more word salad you get, the more unreal it is that she would even be the candidate. She doesn't have an ability to articulate complex policies, complex positions and to reconcile them with the failure of the Biden administration's policy. Since she has not been talking to the American public, as you had indicated, other than very restricted environments, this is an opportunity for her, uninterrupted, to have the difficulty of her own policies in contrast to what the American public need and want.
He is the chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, Mike Turner of Ohio. It's great to speak with you, sir. Have a great week.
Thank you. Take care.